Hello everybody, welcome to my piano room library. I have just not been feeling well the last day, and it's Sunday night right now, and I just can feel a fever descending on me. And so I am just planning to not come in today. So hopefully whoever has gotten into class has been able to set up, well, this video, obviously, but then to turn on the sound system so that your headphones work. So thank you to everybody for helping with that. My plan here is, I have not found a good way to do class piano virtually. I don't think it makes sense for me to show up live on Zoom with like each of you individually on your phones, because I don't know, then you're trying to listen to me and listen to your piano at the same time. And anyways, as far as I know, there's no way to set up Zoom on the TV, so I'm pre-recording this. I'm just going to pretend I'm there, except I can't hear you or interact with you. But I'm just going to talk through some things, give you some things to work on, and then give you some time. I'll just sit here, I'll scroll through Instagram or something, and then I'll give you a few more things to think about. So my plan is just to keep this class to about 30 minutes, and just get started. We have a new bundle, and it's a big bundle because I'm always organizing things by kind of concept type. So the big thing, the first bundle was just getting used to playing, reading music and playing basic stuff at the piano. It's really straightforward melodies with one hand or the other. Bundle number 2 was short, but the main theme was just playing 2 notes at once. Now, this third bundle is all about playing melody and accompaniment. One hand playing melody, the other hand playing accompaniment. We've had we've played melodies mostly, the tune that you want to get stuck in your head. But now we're going to start adding an accompaniment so that we're kind of filling out the song. It's not just a solo singer on stage, but we have somebody strumming a guitar and someone singing. That's what we're adding in now. So the most straightforward accompaniment that we can do, this is the new part that we haven't done yet. The most straightforward accompaniment is playing chords. If you look on page 32, chords, in music we spell that C-H-O-R-D. They are introducing the first chord. Here's the easiest way to think about a chord. We've dealt with harmonic intervals in bundle number 2. 2 notes that you play at the same time. A chord is 2 harmonic thirds stacked on top of each other. So if I have note C, I want to build a C chord. I'm going to add 1 harmonic third above C, which is E. I'm skipping 1 note and I get a third. And then from that E, I'm going to add another harmonic third. So I start on E, I skip a note, I have G. C, E, G, it's 2 harmonic thirds stacked on top of each other. That's a C chord. So just try that as I'm talking here. You try it for both hands. We're always going to use 1, 3, 5 for this chord, or 5, 3, 1 in the left hand. Anytime we play a chord, just like anytime we played harmonic intervals, we always want to roll into the chord. So you want to see your wrist having a little flexibility. The idea is that your wrist is going up, so your fingers go down, working in opposite motion. But your arm is not stationary. This right here is just a stationary arm. Remember I talked before, in the first day of classes, we don't do this. Everything's connected. So there's still a tube in our arm going from the knuckle all the way to our elbow, but it's a little flexible here. So just try playing chords. Try just the right hand, try just the left hand. roll in so that you're not really doing anything with your fingers. They're just the conduit from the motion, all that going back to your elbow to direct the motion into the key. Something to try. I know it came up with some people last time about playing the notes at the same time. It can be tricky. Our fingers are different lengths after all. The key depth is not different lengths. Something you could try is just roll onto your head. Just so you can really hear. And just work at playing evenly. Feeling that thump from only fingers 1, 3, and 5 at the same time. You just try it on your head. I mean, you can do it on your arm too, you feel it, but in your head you also hear it. Inside your head. I mean, don't hurt yourself. But it's something you can try just to start to get a sense of that motion. Alright, so always rolling. Alright. If we look at page 33, right away we have a song which might be familiar to you. Brother John, or the French is Frère Jacques. And excuse me. Right away we have the right hand playing a melody that we'll recognize. And the left hand repeating this C chord. So anytime we have this clear differentiation between the hands, one hand has one clear roll, the other hand has another clear roll, practice them separately. Make sure you're really comfortable with the right hand. Make sure you're really comfortable with your left hand. Yeah. So take a few minutes, work through this. When you get to the last 2 measures, you'll notice there's no chords. What we have is this back and forth, back and forth. You want to kind of feel that you're trading off between the hands. In this one case, we have the melody going from the right hand to the left hand, back to the right hand. Right hand, left hand, back to the right hand for the please come on. So that's one place you might just go hands together right away because they're doing the same thing. They're integrated, right? So everything but the last 2 measures separately. You don't have to do much left hand separately here, although later on we will, because the left hand will be changing. Or the accompaniment hand will change more often, but for now it's not a big deal. Alright, so I'll give you a couple minutes to work through this hand separately, and then we'll keep going. Okay, hopefully you hear me. Hopefully um, you hear me interrupt you with your headsets on. Couple of things I want to talk about. I forget how much we've talked about the term legato explicitly. What I find is that sometimes I mention it, and even if I don't, people tend to figure it out as we go. But let's just do a quick review. Legato is the Italian word meaning smooth and connected. And so it means, just like when we walk, we have one foot on the ground, and then the next foot, and then the next foot. There's always this moment where both feet are on the ground when we're walking. Otherwise, we'd be hopping. So to actually walk smoothly, we need a moment where there's an overlap and then the other foot moves. Same thing when we play piano. That first measure, for everything, we want to have a nice, smooth, connected legato for melody. So make sure, if you haven't already, really make sure that you're playing legato. That there's a slight overlap. Alright, I'm going to give you just another minute. Just listen, play it for yourself, and see how you're doing with legato. Now you might notice that it is impossible to play legato from the end of the first measure to the beginning of the second, because we have a repeated note. On the piano, to repeat something, we have to let go of it, which means legato, an overlap of the sound, is impossible. So, I grant you that. There is a difference between doing this and doing this. The second time, I didn't let the key pop up. I followed the key up. It's a very fine distinction, but it makes a difference. So it's possible to make it sound legato without actually being fully legato. So that's something else to think about. Your left hand is going to be doing this the entire way, because your left hand is just repeating the same thing. 3, 4. So what I like to do, especially in an accompaniment pattern that's repetitive, is to almost insert a quarter rest on beat 4, the last beat of the measure in this case. 1, 2, 3, rest. 1, 2, 3, rest. Just so that we're not trying to hold it as long as possible. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Because then you're really tight. You're not able to really get a new roll into the next chord. You're not able to relax for a second. So treat that left hand as having a quarter rest at the end. I'm going to give you a few minutes. Try these hands together. You have hopefully a good start with the hands separate. Try it together and just see how you do. Okay. So, we'll work through this next time. So, practice this. Really make sure you're feeling comfortable playing melody and accompaniment in each hand. You might know that this is a round, which means you can kind of keep repeating, but starting in different places. So we're going to play it as a round eventually. As a class, I think it's always fun. Something else is I didn't say, but it's important. Before we were dealing with harmonic intervals, I talked about if they shared a stem, any notes, 2, 3, 4, 6, 10, if they share a stem, you play them at the same time. Well, also, any time within a grand staff, with treble and bass clef together, any time that notes line up vertically, you play them at the same time. So, the very beginning, you have, of Brother John, you have C in the right hand and the C chord in the left hand. Those line up vertically. So those are to be played at the exact same time. If we look at the bottom half of the page, here's a happy song. We have our rules flipped. Left hand is playing the melody. The right hand is playing an accompaniment. It's very sparse. Anytime we have this just short, like quarter note accompaniment, or anytime we have something that's repetitive in the accompaniment, like in the last measure of the first line in the right hand, we don't want those to be too long or too heavy. They should be like almost a beat, but not a full beat. Because think about it. Think about that last line, last measure in the first line of the right hand. You can't possibly play a full, literal full quarter note, because then you can't play the next note, because you have to lift something up on the piano to repeat it. So if I was playing a full quarter note, it'd go 1, 2, 3. Because to play a full quarter note, I can't lift it until the next beat, but then I can't replay the next beat. Okay? So play sort of a full, almost a full beat. Notice there's a slightly different pattern in the right hand here. At that one measure I talked about, end of the first line. You have a C chord, and then this F and G, a harmonic second. So I go back to the point I made before about things lining up. Look at that last measure. Think about what lines up in the left and right hands. It's not the melody note of the left hand plus the accompaniment note of the right hand that are played together. Your left hand plays this. At the same time, your right hand plays silence, one beat of silence. So be very careful with these quarter rests in the right hand. Make sure that you're lining up the left hand note and the quarter rests in this case. This one, you could almost just do, I'd say, try it hands together right away, just for a slightly different experience. Because there's not a lot of interaction between the hands, you can just kind of get away with starting it together. Here's what I'd like you to do. Last week we talked about starting at the end and working backwards. So do this. Play the last measure right away. Think about where your left hand is, your right hand, and just try playing. If you didn't get it right away, take a few seconds. And let's just try it again. Ready? Last measure, go. Okay. And then try approaching it with the second last measure. Try that. Give you 5 seconds, and we'll try it together. Here we go. Ready? Last two measures, play. Alright, the other thing I'll say, last thing I'll say, be sure both hands are ready to go, that your right hand does not take a vacation. Both hands ready to go the whole way through. Because your right hand has things to play, it just has silence to play. Or chords. Alright, so I'll give you about 5 minutes, and then I might play through this one just so you can kind of hear what we're aiming for. So 5 minutes or so to work, and we'll touch base after that. Okay, so I'll play through this quick. If you want to play along, if you can kind of hear both, but if you just want to compare what you hear to what I'm playing, that's fine too. I'll make a quick note about tempo, the speed that you play. There is rarely a set tempo. We measure tempo in beats per minute, just like we measure our heart rate. Not coincidentally, yeah. And rarely is there a say, play this at 60 beats per minute. The best tempo is one that you can maintain steadily. Always. So, always choose a safe tempo, and once you can play that, you could consider playing it faster. Notice just above the grand staff at the very beginning, it says happily. That's what we refer to as a tempo marking. This is, sometimes you'll see something that'll tell you, give you a hint about the speed. So what does happily mean? It could mean any number of things. And it's not just tempo that decides if it sounds happy. Dynamics. And there's balance between the hands. There's several other things that can determine that. So going fast does not necessarily mean happy. So here's what it's going to sound like. I'm going to take a nice safe tempo. This is my quarter note beat. Here's a happy song. Ready and go. Rest chord. So that's what we're aiming for. You see the forte? We want to play nice and big sound without banging on the piano. Great. Here's the last thing I would like you to do. Part of your grade is doing class reflection questions. That is just something that I ask you to do. I prompt you to do, and I haven't done it much. Partly because it's a newer thing for me to incorporate into my teaching, and so I just haven't done that consistently yet. Something I'm getting used to. So what I'd like you to do, if you can, pull up the assignment folder that you upload your assignments to. So yeah, pull out your phone. Hopefully you can go through Google Drive now. If you can't find the folder, whatever, you can send me an email. jmanchur, JMANCHUR at Heidelberg, or just search for me. It should come up, Jeff Mancher. But if you can, go through the assignment folder. In the main folder, there should be 2 docs. One is the submission log, where you tell me every time you upload something. Please do that. If you didn't do that for your assignment you just submitted, maybe do it now too. But the other doc is for reflections. Practice reflection, hopefully you're doing that. If you're aiming for an even letter grade or a plus letter grade, you should be doing weekly practice reflections. Just talk about how your practicing is going. And then, for today, this is kind of how I'm going to make sure people are here. I would like you to just quickly, briefly tell me how chord playing feels for you. Based on the work today, how comfortable does it feel to play chords? How well do you think you're doing? How much sense does it make? Have I lost you today? Just write a very brief reflection. A couple sentences is totally fine, or a couple, general points. And tell me how chord playing feels. This is not a right or wrong answer. I want you to be honest so that I know how to adapt things in the future. So as you can do that, and then if someone can shut the TV off and then turn the sound system off. So hopefully if the people who turn them on can just shut everything off, that would be easiest. I really appreciate your understanding, your flexibility. I really appreciate you showing up and working today. So I hope to be in person for next class. Bye.